I will say last year when we were able to do our update, you heard from our students. If you remember, we actually shared a video update from the students. So this year you're going to hear from our faculty and staff a little bit. You're going to see questions up on the screen. I'm not going to read them. They're there for you to look at while you're listening to me. But they answered questions. What are the strengths of the high school? What do they want the community to know about what they do? And what do they appreciate most about being part of the THS family? So you're going to see those going on there while I'm talking about what we call our big three, which are academics, attendance, and behavior. I am going to slow it down a little bit because I think that's going faster than it should. Maybe. No, we'll keep going. We'll let it go. I'm going to talk a little faster. How about that? So you're going to see those things on the screen. You can see one of those answers now. Feel free, obviously, to take a look at those while you maybe are listening to me. You did see a screen there just a second ago that showed our academic piece, which for us, I don't know if you heard it or not, but we were #1 in Butler County in student growth. We grew our students more at Talawanda High School than any other high school in Butler County. Absolutely something that our faculty and staff celebrated a ton. We were also #2 in overall performance. It wasn't like we performed bad and grew our students. We did both very, very well. Like Mr. Murs said, we're using our data days to look at all of those tested areas. We're looking at our advanced placement scores. We're looking at Tier 1 and Tier 2 interventions for all 4 grade levels. Again, that academics and attendance and behavior piece is kind of what drives those groups on data days for us. I want to touch a little bit on the strategic plan as well. The first being, the community partnerships and what we do there, whether it's Jenny George and Kathy Mabus in the T23 program, or Sonia Smith in the work study program, whether it's Mike Driggers in our CBIP, or Ryan Barter and what he does with Credit Flex Work Experience. We are getting kids out into the community in a variety of ways that are not just interesting, but are meaningful and impacting them in terms of what their future is. They do a great job in those programs. We're also bringing kids in. Our Veterans Day Assembly continues to be one of our most popular assemblies. You'll see some images on the screen of some of that as well. And of course, as part of that, we were able to unveil both our first responders wall as well as our veterans wall of honor. And Sharon Gregory was really, really integral in making those things happen. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We continue to offer coffee with the principal, an opportunity for community members just to schedule times to come in and have conversations and kind of pull back the curtain on what's happening at the high school, from 8:15 till 2:55. A lot of times we hear about all the stuff that goes on after school and athletics and mock trial and all the great stuff that we have going on, and it's too much for me to cover, and what I'm hoping is a very brief presentation here. But we do a lot of great things during the school day as well. The THS family is committed to the highest quality of education, and the stuff that's going on in the classroom, oftentimes people don't get to talk about it very much or don't see it, so we're trying to pull back that curtain a little bit with some of those things. And so that's another way that we're trying to connect with the community. We're also trying to revitalize the Miami-Talawanda partnership. Holly Hansel and I are working really hard on that to try and get something going there. That was something that was fairly active a few years ago, and it's kind of fallen off. So we've had a number of really good conversations. In fact, just today, I met with Miami Regionals, and we're going to expand to have Miami Regionals bring their academic advisors in to talk to our students who are taking CCP classes. They've committed to do that just today. That was, the outcome of a conversation that Mrs. Stark, one of our counselors, and I had with them. So there's lots of great stuff happening. On the screen right now is our attendance, academics, attendance, and behavior. Our year-to-date attendance rate was 90%. January hit us a little bit between the illnesses and the 2 delays, so we're at 95%. It's still the highest daily attendance rate that we've had in years. So I know there were a lot of concerns about what was going to happen without high school busing. Our families have done a great job getting their kids here. Not only are they showing up more than they have, we've reduced tardies by 8.5%. on top of that. So we're doing a great job there. Our chronic absenteeism continues to be down. In fact, this year we've seen a 38% reduction in chronic absenteeism, which was one of the things that's measured on our report card. Going back to the strategic plan, talking about respectful, equitable, and inclusive environments, we're certainly committed. If you know our portrait of a graduate, we're committed to graduating global citizens. Jacob Scott, one of our government teachers, hosted right here with Butler County Board of Elections and the League of Women Voters and Assembly for our seniors to learn a lot about the voting process, how they could get signed up to vote if they weren't already, and hear from them. That was a great opportunity. We continue to run our annual Brave Day. If you go into the cafeteria, you see pride written on the wall. A lot of people don't really pay attention to it. It actually says people respecting individual differences every day. One of the things that's really neat about Brave Day for us is our students come here and they know each other as learners. They know each other as students. Some of them are friends outside of school, but a lot of them don't really understand who they are as human beings. Brave Day really helps them learn about each other as people more so than just students. And of course, we have a ton of clubs and organizations and things, and I'm not going to read that whole list to you. The A is accountability and fiscal stewardship. I mentioned the honor walls before. We leveraged grant funds that Sharon Gregory secured, as well as fundraising dollars from my budget to take care of those. We also leveraged some grant dollars that Central Office provided us to expand our night school offering. So we're trying to make sure we're taking care of the checkbook while we're taking care of our students for sure. We were blessed to have some donations. Lauren Dysert and Morgan Sly, if you remember, raised $1,000 for the middle school and high school orchestras. We also had Bailey Reed here, who raised over $1,400 to pay off Chromebook insurance fees for anybody who had not been able to pay theirs. Whether you realize it or not, Chromebook fee insurance, which is $40 per student, is one of those fees that we cannot waive for students whose families qualify for free lunch. So they meet the threshold for that, but that's a fee that we can't waive for that. And so that, really selfless effort by Bailey to take care of that was awesome. We also used fundraising dollars to construct an outdoor classroom, which we dedicated to Mr. York. Tom was here for 10 years as our fearless leader, so we created the R before T, Relationships Before Issues and Task outdoor classroom with some modular benches and tables that the kids are able to use right outside of the 200 hallway, or 100 hallway, I should say, which is a great addition to our outdoor space for our students. In terms of vision and opportunities, we're always trying to be innovative here, whether it's, and taking really the input of the students as part of that process. So the best example of that, honestly, is our master schedule. We throw our master schedule out every year and rebuild it based on what our students want. I'm going to pause. I'm going to talk about that right there. 57 positive reports per day. That's what we average here at the high school. Those are reports that our teachers go into our public school work system, create, and then those get sent out every Monday morning. We're averaging 57 of those a day. In addition to, again, this is academics, attendance, behavior, so we're on the behavior piece right now. In addition to that behavior piece, we have seen a 27% reduction in discipline incidents. Some of that's related to those tardies that I referenced before. Some of that is related to tobacco vapes. We've done a little bit better this year with tobacco vapes, but I will say it's not all good news. We have not done as well with THC vapes, or maybe we've done better. We unfortunately have more incidents of THC vapes. That's certainly on the rise. I'm going to say sadly. I don't know how everybody feels about the legislation that was just passed, but I would say sadly, because it's going to put more marijuana on the streets for our kids. They're finding it. They're bringing it to school. And unfortunately, that's 10 days in a recommendation for expulsion when that happens. Now, it doesn't mean we necessarily put them out, but we have to address that behavior. We were tasked to kind of look into ways to improve that. There are some neighboring school districts who are using surveillance and vape detection devices with some pretty good success. But when we looked into what that was going to be, it was about $330,000, which I know I talked about leveraging grant and fundraising money. We don't have that kind of grant or fundraising money. It doesn't mean we're not looking into it. Holly's, doing some stuff for us, and we're talking about it. But that would be a capital project that we would really need a lot of assistance from. If we want to be serious about keeping our schools safe, that surveillance and those vape detection devices, that's really the cutting edge stuff. That's how the school districts are being much more successful. Again, we're catching some of it, but we're not naive. We're not catching all of it. So certainly keeping our buildings safe is a top priority. I'll go back real quick to the vision. We were talking about ways that we hear from our students. Mrs. Hess and Mr. Cole, who are here alongside me, they continue to run our Assistant Principal Advisory Committee, where they meet twice a month with students to just have genuine conversations about what's happening here at the high school, to take their feedback and use that feedback to make tweaks and adjustments to what we're doing here, whether it's music in the hallways or another microwave in the cafeteria, or what can we do to make tutorial more meaningful. All of those conversations are happening, so we're hearing from our students on a regular basis. We've also been pretty creative with our Zero Bell. I was talking to another staff member today who was just singing the praises of the opportunity that Zero Bell has created for our students and created for us as a faculty. So we want to try and keep those opportunities going. And I don't know if you saw it on screen, but we've had students chatting with astronauts from the International Space Station. The stuff that is happening here, again, I could talk for a long, long time. I'm not going to. I'm going to wrap up with the E in Brave from our strategic plan with our exceptional and high-quality staff. What more can you say? We were number one in Butler County. Number one in Butler County. It's hard to argue with that. Hard to argue with that for sure. They deserve a ton of credit. Our teachers, our educational assistants, our secretaries, our counselors, our social worker, our custodian, from top to bottom, we have people who come here every day and pour their heart and soul into these kids, and the results are what they are because of them. It's a great place to come. Their commitment is absolutely commendable, and it's really the reason that we are so successful. I will say, as much as we can talk about the successes, we're not done. and we're not resting on our laurels. There's absolutely nobody who's satisfied. Satisfactory is one of my least favorite terms in education. I'm glad they took it off of the teacher evaluation system. Who wants to be just satisfactory? Not us, not the THS family. So we continue to accept the challenge of trying to educate kids in an ever-changing landscape. I didn't even talk about artificial intelligence. I could probably go on for a long time about it, but we know it's going to change education, and we have to get ahead of it. And our teachers are accepting that. Our staff is accepting that. So, with that said, on behalf of Mrs. Hess and Mr. Cole as well, and all of the teachers and staff members here at the high school, we appreciate the opportunity to share our update,